Welcome to my video. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more amazing videos. Daniel's flight began like any other journey. He arrived at the airport with excitement. Carefully checking everything: ticket, passport, luggage. Standing at the security gate, Daniel couldn't stop thinking about the wonderful things awaiting him ahead. But no one could have known that this flight would not simply be an exploration but a challenge to his character, leading him to the deepest secrets of himself and those around him. Daniel stepped into the airplane cabin with excitement. However, the moment he stepped through the narrow door of the plane, an inexplicable cold feeling swept over him. The crew's eyes briefly glanced at him, no welcoming smiles, no greetings. One of the flight attendants, Linda, stood there with a cold expression, her eyes showing a hint of disdain that Daniel couldn't ignore. At first, he thought he might be overreacting, that it was just the usual indifference of those working in a crowded, stressful environment. But it seemed that the indifference was more than just that. When Daniel sat down in his seat, he noticed that Linda, along with a few other crew members, deliberately ignored his small requests, while other passengers were treated attentively. Their eyes looked at him as if he didn't belong there, as if he were an unwelcome stranger. Daniel clearly felt the discrimination, and it made him both confused and disappointed. He tried to ignore it, telling himself that this was just a short flight, that everything would soon be over. But as time went by, Linda's lack of respect became more apparent. Once, when Daniel asked for a glass of water, Linda didn't even look at him and simply said, "Wait." Meanwhile, just seconds later, she smiled at the white man sitting next to him and quickly brought him a glass of red wine. Daniel couldn't help but notice the difference, and it made him feel insulted. Despite this, Daniel remained calm. He had faced many hardships in life, and he knew that confronting discrimination didn't always mean reacting immediately. He just wanted this flight to end so he could continue his journey without any further trouble. But fate seemed to have arranged a bigger challenge for Daniel. Just a few hours into the flight, when the plane was at a stable altitude, a sudden strong turbulence occurred. The plane shook violently, and passengers screamed in panic. Daniel looked around, seeing the fear on everyone's faces. He could hear children crying, some passengers praying, and even the crew's hurried, confused footsteps. Suddenly, an announcement from the cockpit echoed, the captain's voice full of tension. "We are experiencing a technical issue. Crew, please prepare for an emergency situation." The atmosphere in the cabin seemed to freeze. Daniel clearly felt the anxiety spreading, and he knew this wasn't just an ordinary turbulence. His eyes scanned the crew, and he saw panic in Linda's eyes. She no longer had the cold look she had earlier. Instead, there was genuine fear. Daniel knew he couldn't sit still. He was a skilled pilot with many years of experience. He understood the plane, knew what to do in emergencies to keep everyone safe. He stood up, walked towards the crew, and for the first time, looked Linda directly in the eyes with determination. "I'm a pilot. Let me help." Linda was stunned. Her eyes widened as she looked at Daniel, as if she couldn't believe what she had just heard. In that moment, all the prejudices, all the disdainful looks she had given him, disappeared. She no longer saw Daniel as an anonymous passenger with a different skin color, but as a determined and capable man who could save everyone on this flight. Daniel entered the cockpit, where he found the captain struggling to control the situation. But his health seemed to be failing. With his professionalism and knowledge, Daniel quickly grasped the situation and began working with the co-pilot to bring the plane out of the turbulence. The tense moments passed. And with Daniel's calm demeanor, the plane gradually returned to stability. The screams in the cabin slowly subsided, replaced by relieved sighs. When the plane landed safely, everyone on board stood up and applauded. Not just for their safety but for the man who stepped up and did what was necessary when no one else could. Linda, standing at the exit, looked at Daniel with completely different eyes. She bowed her head, her voice trembling. "Thank you. I was wrong about you." Daniel just smiled gently, saying nothing. But he knew in his heart that this flight had changed not only Linda's perspective but also everyone else's on board about differences and the true value of a person. After returning from the eventful flight, Daniel realized that his life had changed forever. What happened on that flight not only made people see him differently but also left a deep impact on him and those on the flight. Linda, after what had happened, decided to find Daniel to apologize more sincerely and learn from him. Linda found Daniel's address after checking the passenger list. She stood in front of his house, her hands trembling as she pressed the doorbell. When the door opened, she saw Daniel, still with the same calm eyes as on the plane. Linda hesitated. "Daniel, I know meeting you like this might be an inconvenience. But I want to sincerely apologize from the bottom of my heart. I held wrong prejudices and behaved poorly." Daniel was silent for a moment. Then he smiled and invited Linda inside. They sat down, and Linda began to share her past. The prejudices she had carried since childhood, from her family and environment. Daniel listened, without judgment, just with understanding and empathy. He knew that changing someone's perspective wasn't easy. But the important thing was that Linda had recognized her mistakes and wanted to change. Linda later decided to take a course on cultural diversity and anti-racism. Inspired by what Daniel had done, she wanted to be a flight attendant who not only served passengers but also conveyed positive values so that no one would have to experience discrimination like Daniel did. Daniel also couldn't stop thinking about that flight. He decided to write down his story and send it to a major newspaper, hoping that his story could inspire others, helping them realize that the true value of a person is not in their appearance but in their actions. Daniel's story quickly spread, gaining significant attention from the community. Articles about him, about his courage and kindness, were widely shared. Daniel became a symbol of determination and goodness. A person who overcame discrimination to save everyone on that flight. Linda and Daniel later became good friends. They participated in many charitable activities together, sharing their story at schools and social organizations to raise awareness about equality and kindness. Their relationship was a living testament to how people can change and grow when they open their hearts and learn from each other. That fateful flight wasn't just a challenge for Daniel, but also a journey for him to discover the value of patience, forgiveness, and the ability to change others through positive actions. It was proof of the power of character and determination in changing the world's view of differences. Daniel's life continued with new flights, new journeys. But no flight was like that first one. The one that took him to a new height in his journey of self-discovery and inspired so many others. Linda didn't just stop at apologizing to Daniel and attending a cultural diversity course. She decided to write a book about her journey, about her mistakes and how she overcame them. The book, titled The Flight of Change, became a bestseller, helping many people realize the importance of confronting prejudices and learning to change themselves. Linda also frequently spoke at conferences and schools, sharing her story in hopes of inspiring others. She became a model for positive change. And her story helped many realize that only by facing the truth and opening up can we change the world around us. The passengers on that flight also couldn't forget what had happened. One of them, Mr. Smith, a successful businessman, decided to write a letter to the airline, praising Daniel and urging the company to take measures to prevent the kind of discrimination Daniel had faced. His letter led the airline to reconsider its training policies, especially regarding diversity and anti-racism. Another passenger, Mrs. Maria, who had cried during the turbulence, decided to join a charity organization to help those facing discrimination after learning about Daniel's story. She believed Daniel's story was a reminder that we shouldn't judge others by their appearance. And she wanted to do something to contribute to societal change. Daniel's story is a clear testament to the power of kindness, determination, and the ability to change. It shows us that even when faced with discrimination and hardship, we can stand up, do the right thing, and inspire those around us. Daniel's first flight was not just a journey through the skies but a journey of self-discovery and the value of equality. It showed that a person's true worth does not lie in their appearance but in their actions when life puts them in the most challenging situations. This story is not just about Daniel but about all of us, those living in a diverse and complex world. It reminds us that only when we open our hearts, learn to understand, and love can we truly change the world. Daniel and Linda's story is a powerful reminder of the strength of forgiveness, kindness, and the ability to change. No matter who we are, where we come from, our value should never be judged by skin color, religion, or any external characteristic. The true value of a person lies in their actions, their courage, and determination when faced with challenges. Daniel proved that as long as we keep believing in ourselves and refuse to let prejudice defeat us, we can achieve extraordinary things. His story is a reminder that we all have the ability to do the right thing. And by doing so, we can change the world, one flight, one person, one small action at a time.